Silence my phone.
Oh, right. We are live. I'm like, wait a second. I'm trying to count backwards from 10 and I don't know how fast I'm counting. Mike, have fun getting your ice cream. Bring some back for the class. All right. We are live again. She won't share. Fine. Be that way. We are live with Tales from the Tavern. I have a super fun group here tonight. I'm so excited to have this phenomenal group of people. A couple of familiar faces that have been here before, a couple of new faces, but are friends of the channel because, you know, they are awesome people and we like to hang out with them. So I'm going to quickly go around and let you all introduce yourselves, tell us your name and a little about who you are and where we can find you online. And yeah, and then we'll kick off the conversation. So Syrup, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I am Syrup from WafflesMapleSyrup. I am one half. Waffles is here with me as well. Yeah, hi.
Right. Well, thanks so much for coming on this week, you guys. I'm super excited to have you both on. So with that said, I'm going to jump over to Waffles. So
Yeah, I'm Waffles. I'm the other half of Waffles Maple Syrup. I GM, I do the audio editing. I'm usually the one on Twitter.
excellent. Well, thank you for coming on. Nick.
Hey everyone, my name is Nick, and I play Relic on the D&D podcast Know Your Roll, and this is my second time on Tales from the Tavern.
Yeah, I'm excited that it worked out to have you back and coincidentally having you back on at the same time as someone that was on the last time you were on.
yeah, no, I'm really excited to be back. And yeah, I'm not sure if it's on my nameplate or not, but yeah, people can find me either on Twitter behind the Know Your Roll Twitter, which is just know_your_roll, ROLL, or my personal one, which is just Katanaholic. I'll leave you to figure out how to spell that one.
There you go. All right, Patch. Hear from you.
Well, hello everyone. It's good to finally be on. I am Patch. I play a Tudak on the Actual Play podcast Discount Dungeons. I also handle the Twitter account for them. So I'm the one who does a lot of the positive stuff that you see around a lot. And you can find me normally on there, or you can find me on my personal Twitter, which is Patchster0730.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad it worked out that we could finally work our way into your busy schedule. And Rolls. Yeah.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm Rolls. I'm doing fantastic. I heard Nick was going to be on the show, and so I begged Luna to be on here again with Nick. Might as well make it a tradition, right?
Right.
I'm a content creator. I've been streaming some Dungeons and Dragons and epic fantasy writing, world building, things like that. Love Dungeons and Dragons, and I love this community. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much, Luna, and thanks everybody else for showing up too. This will be great.
Yeah, this is going to be a ton of fun. Oh, yes. A good point, too, for anybody who wants to look up Waffles and Syrup on Twitter. They share one account. It's just at Waffles Maple on Twitter. So you can look them both up together. Or you can look up my Twitter if you want to find everybody's. It's all in one tweet floating around somewhere on the Twitter sphere.
True.
So, yeah. So I'm going to start off tonight's conversation with a very, well, I say very easy, but it's also a very divisive question at times. When you are playing with a group of people, what is the best TTRPG snack to bring to the table?
Oh.
It's a tough one.
Best or favorite? Because my favorite is not what I would consider the best. My favorite is the biggest possible bag of munchies that they sell in the store.
Yes.
But if you're dealing with like, you know, pen and paper character sheets or iPads or anything, I mean, there's like cheese dust on everything. But that's my personal. I immediately associate munchies with D&D.
Yeah.
Important question though, what flavor? You go the ranch munchies, you go the nachos.
I'm a nacho or a flamin' hot Cheetos munchie guy.
There you go.
So for me, it really depends what you're calling a snack. I know when I was younger and we always played D&D, it was pizza. You bring pizza to
Oh,
the table.
yes.
You take
Oh,
that 10-minute break. You all eat some pizza.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to go with like best snack to eat while you're playing, it's probably just plain pretzels, like salted pretzels.
It's a powerful choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a statement.
So when I associate, Nick, you were saying along the lines of like the munchies. I think of chips. Just have the bag open. You can hear like the rustling when someone like has their hand in there grabbing a handful. But that's my go-to that I think of. But best, we had an April Fool's session, and one of our players brought in jerky. And if you ask any of them, they will tell you I probably ate a good like 3/4 of that thing.
Was that a reference patch to Kakaw's love of jerky?
Well, I was playing Kakao at the time, so yes, as a matter of fact, it could have been.
That's funny.
So if you're talking about, recording and things like that, the crinkling is pretty rough. But if you take that out of the equation, usually I get like the really good Costco size box of just like cookies for everybody.
Yeah.
We just go crazy with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We I posted this question as a poll last night during our stream, and it ended up sparking a huge debate between Twizzlers versus Red Vines. So
Oh, Twizzlers all the way.
Twizzlers, red vines are way too sweet.
see,
I have
I've
a
never
group
had
where-
Red Vines. Like, I don't even think I could get them in the store here. I've never seen them sold anywhere. So
Twizzler pull and peel. That's my jam. The
there
pull
you
and
go.
Yes, I second that.
You got to be able to
I
play
like-
with your food.
Yeah,
As you guys
Nate's next
noticed
pick.
when we
Red-
were setting this up, I turned my camera off because I was trying to eat something real quick. I don't like to eat in front of people, and I also don't like to have things in my mouth when I'm trying to role play. So I
Yeah.
don't actually eat while I'm playing. I eat in between.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
have our tradition is peanut M&Ms. That's really our tradition.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
go through pounds and
Yeah.
pounds of peanut M&Ms.
Yeah. Yeah. I think at my table it's always chips, Twizzlers, and some form of M&Ms, or sometimes Skittles, but usually M&Ms.
Yeah, I was really lucky to join a game like this was like a decade ago, and I barely knew the people. They were through a local gaming store, and when we went to play at the guy's house, his partner came in and was like, "Hey, I hope you guys don't mind. I made some things for you all," and I assumed it was going to be like, pizza pockets or whatever, and it was like lumpia and like homemade pancit and like all this really, really good. I ended up playing with them for like a year for just the food. Like even when I wasn't having a good time in the game, I was like, it's worth it. It's worth it for the food.
I was gonna say the game may be terrible, but the meals are fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, my character's gone up 3 levels. I've gained about 20 pounds.
Yeah.
There you go.
The
Priorities.
foodie,
Gosh.
All about priorities.
sacrifice.
I have a couple that I'm friends with comes over usually when I host parties, but every once in a while, like they'll come over for a game night or something like that. And she is from the Philippines, and every time she comes over, she makes adobo, which is like
Mhm.
meat for people who haven't had it. It's like meat over rice, and it's amazing. And so anytime like any of my friends find out that they're coming, they're like, is she gonna make adobo? Are we gonna have adobo when she comes over? Because like that's become the go-to food now for game night when they come. So yeah. So chat, for anybody out in chat who is joining us for the first time, we do like to take questions from chat, so feel free to just throw those questions up in chat. The mods will help make sure that we see them and get them answered for you. They can be about TTRPGs or nerdy stuff. That's all, anything that's related to that general area. Who was it? Was it Saint this morning put up a question in Discord about having like props at the table. What do you guys think about doing that? Do you guys use props when you play or no?
So for us, I know with Chris asking the question, our table can get very full.
Yeah.
I know I'm mostly to blame for that because I like dice and my dice are everywhere. But I will give him a lot of credit. He had, for one of our sessions, he created a whole like layout of the scene that we were in, and it was 3-dimensional, had everything on it, and that was a ton of fun. So I think props can be really great to help not just set the scene, but kind of feel more immersive. I think I saw somebody was talking about like lockpick kind of things, things like that. I think those are really cool to have, and I would love to see more of that.
Yeah.
Chris, hint, hint, wink, wink, because I know you're in chat.
It's a little twofold for us, I think, because our group plays online. We are all people that met online, actually haven't met in person yet, though we're planning it. COVID kind of put a stop to that, but we're trying.
Yeah.
But so in terms of props, it's a little bit more limited, but Waffles does amazing jobs on doing like really cool maps, and we try to bridge the gap of immersiveness with other tools. But when we play in person, not necessarily for like the podcast or anything like that, he also does a really amazing job. He gives us like crumpled up notes, like physically, like where you have the symbols on them, and all that interactiveness is like so cool. I love it.
Yeah, I actually just played a one-shot recently. I still have these sitting right here, where I played it was a Fate one-shot, and it was a homebrew, and I played a mouse folk, and so I wore these on stream. My little mouse ears.
I love it.
Yeah,
very good.
So that was fun. And I had that, and I don't usually dress up for my characters, but I did for that one because it was fun and it was a one shot, so we figured why not. So I think most of us actually dressed up for it. Yeah, yeah. Kwame says, and the voice. I used a voice modulator to make my voice really high, so it was really high and squeaky.
Oh, nice,
awesome.
Oh, go ahead. To kind of piggyback off of Ptolemech in the chat, I make sure that we almost always have music, at least for battles, if not for all like scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of ambient music or sound effects, anything, and I've always tried to strike the balance between it being like mood setting, but you also don't want to be too distracting. And so I struggle sometimes because if I put in music from like Skyrim or Lord of the Rings, it's one of those things like someone hears it and they instantly can get pulled out. So I've tried to find that balance of like, I might pull it from an old Assassin's Creed game or like a movie like Last of the Mohicans or something where it's not quite as much in people's awareness. Music's definitely a great kind of, I think, version of a prop in a way.
I don't necessarily do music, but I like ambient sounds. So like if you're in a cave, like that kind of drippy, echoey noise. I actually have an app. I have a few apps for sounds on my phone, but one of them I really like. What's it called? I'm looking right now. Relax Melodies, which has like all of these different and you can layer different sounds on top of each other and whatnot. So like right now it's set right now on night and peepers. So if you were to turn it on right now, you would have like crickets and kind of like the nighttime sounds, and then like the sound of those peepers that you hear in the spring or whatever. So so that's always a fun. I like this sort of the ambient sounds. I'm somebody that gets distracted by music, so so I tend to try to shy away from it.
Yeah, familiar music definitely distracts me as well.
Yeah, I as far as like more traditional like physical props, I have a folder for my current game that's labeled handouts that is filled with I've got newspaper articles.
Oh, cool.
Or my favorite one recently is a wanted poster of one of the characters featuring artwork that they drew themselves. themselves.
Wow.
So I'm a big fan of like using something like that to kind of dramatically reveal, like that wanted poster I held up during like a monologue that the big bad was doing, basically putting that character, which is played by Joe, my DM, and I've definitely told this story on another stream, so apologies if you've already heard it, but those are my kind of favorite ways of I like doing those like handmade props that people can like pass around and interact with.
Yeah. Where did I get it? I feel like I picked it up somewhere. Maybe I bought it. So there's this local theater troupe that actually does improv shows, but they're all improv shows based around like a homebrew system so it's a D20 system. So all they roll is a D20. But they do an improv show around it, and they're hilarious. They're so funny. And so of course this COVID thing like knocked that right out of the water. So they haven't been able to do it live, but they always sell merch and stuff at their shows. And one time they were selling these little jars that had notes in them, but you didn't know what the notes said. All they said was like, use these in your game or whatever, like as like a plot twist mechanic. So nobody knew what it said until you broke the seal and opened it. And yeah, we've never used it. So mine is actually still sealed in a cabinet downstairs. So I'm like waiting for the day that we get to bust that out.
Yeah.
But
yeah, props can be cool.
Yeah, I think they're
Absolutely.
fun. So we've got. Go ahead.
Sorry, just one of the things that you guys were talking about, just especially Luna, because you showed the ears and you talked about the voice modulator. And I guess this is a question for anyone who like plays characters. How I don't know if it's how difficult or how long does it take? Like, what do you need to do to get into character? And I guess for the DMs among us, for the NPCs, like, what do you do to get into character? Like, I know for me, it's like I have to take a little bit. I have to like think. I have to like get my voice down deeper to be playing a Tudak. But for some other people, I don't know. Like for Nick, like what does it take to get into the mindset of Relic?
I just put on a bunch of empty beer boxes and make myself look as much like a robot as I can. Relic is a warforged for anyone who's not familiar. Yeah, no, that's a great question. To get into Relic, it does involve beer, because since we record for Know Your Roll, I normally, I'm not normally like this, I think, with D&D characters I play, but it does help me to have like a beer or two to loosen up, knowing, I think just because like I know that we record our show, that I kind of helps me relax a little bit. And then as far as Relic, because he starts off so many of his his sentences with things like inquiry or admonition or things like that. I'll sometimes go through the beginning of one of our before we start to record, and I'll start to think of a couple, like remind myself of some of those sort of words to like just get myself thinking like Relic, things that I might say throughout the session to kind of stick with that. Because I chose, unlike what Luna mentioned, using a voice modulator, I spent way too long trying to figure out how to do like a robotic voice modulator before we started recording, and I couldn't figure it out. So I just told Joe, I said, hey, I'm just going to be kind of weird. I'm not going to do a robot voice. He's just going to have like a strange manner of speaking. And that's just what we ended up sticking with.
Yeah. I actually didn't plan to do a voice modulator for that particular character until somebody else that was doing the stream too, who was a Warforged, but a Warforged that had essentially dissociative identities. So he needed two different voices. And so he found a free voice modulator. And I was like, oh, in that case, like, yeah, I'll play around with it. Because otherwise, trying to talk in a really high-pitched voice, I was like, I know I'm going to end up with a sore throat by the end of the night if I do that. So
yeah, maybe someday Relic will get like Iron Gianted. He'll get like hit in the head, and he'll get like a evil version, and Joe will throw like a modulator on my voice as I go like Terminator on people.
You'll have like a soot mustache or something.
Yeah.
To show you're evil.
Yep.
For me to get into character, it's, I guess one thing carries over from theater. I did some theater long ago. And I always just had to have a moment, like a quiet moment to really focus. But for me, it really comes down to knowing my character. I try to really build deep, rich backgrounds. I'm a very visual thinker. Like I have to have an image in my mind of this character for it to really be real for me. And so I have to just take a moment and bring up that image of my character again, and just concentrate on that a little bit, focus a little bit on that, and then I'm able to get into character pretty easily. It can be really difficult if I'm playing with a large group, or if I get distracted throughout the role play and things like that. It can kind of throw me off a little bit, but I have to have that moment of silence.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
I second that entirely in terms of knowing your character. I think that's huge. And to me, the best way for me to get to know a character is just figuring out what they would do in certain situations. So I don't mind being thrown in the middle, like especially early on in a campaign, like episodes 1, 2, or however. You're still getting the hang of your character, and you just got to think, well, these are the foundations that I built the character on, but now let's apply it to whatever's being thrown at me, and then it just gets easier as they've gone through more stuff. So you kind of grow into the shoes of the character the more the character grows.
Absolutely true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
As far as me and GMing, I don't get to play that often, but the one thing bad that I do, and sorry to my players, is I'm not very good with voices. So I have like one high voice, one low voice. That's about it. But other than that, as far as getting into characters, I love to do that. I'll give all my NPCs a quirk, a goal, and just an overall like personality. That way, when they go into a town and they speak to someone who dislikes them, and then next someone who wants to help them, they feel that difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I have a hard time doing voices too, so I can completely relate.
Right.
He's not here to answer this, but our DM Joe, we usually don't do video chat when we record, just for the sake of the quality of our audio. But Jasmine, who plays another one of our characters and who lives with Joe, has told us that she gets to see firsthand the transformation his face goes through when he picks up a new NPC. And she'll tell us on the mic, she's like, guys, I'm worried about this one, the face he's making, because she said like she sees it in his face before it gets to his voice. So just a tip for you DMs out there, let it change your face first, and then
get your poker face down.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm always a little worried because we all sit around the table, and I can see Chris sometimes, and you can almost see that, like, oh, I want to talk to this person, and you can just tell, like, there's that moment of I gotta do something for this one now too.
I played in a campaign for a little while, and one of the DM is a professional actor. That's his career, and so he was really great at coming up with different voices for all of the different NPCs and whatever. And a lot of the characters, not a lot, but some of the main reoccurring NPCs had an Irish accent. And one time on stream, we caught him switching in and out of that voice, because his trick would be to, under his breath, he would go hoity-toity, and then he would like get into the Irish accent, and the mic picked him up one night, and we all went, excuse me? And it was the funniest thing ever when we realized, because none of us knew he did that. Even live, like, yeah, we never happened to do it, because he always would like turn his head, and none of us ever thought of it. And oh my God, it was hilarious when we realized it. We just died. I think it must have like blown our whole stream that night, because the rest of the night, every time somebody would talk, we'd just go hoity-toity, and then it was bad.
There's a lot to be said about having that kind of, whether it's like a thing you say or like I know that when I do like a kobold or a goblin, I'm not sitting back like this. Like I'm normally like hunched over, at the table.
Yeah.
because I can't do accents. I can't. I can do like one bad Russian accent and that's it. So like I try to, watching videos on like that Matt Mercer has done where it talked about. Where he's like, it's not just about being able to do an accent. It's about like how you carry yourself, like things that you do, like looking around and twitches.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Different voices and accents have to change like your entire persona. So like as a goblin, you have to get down, or as a, like, honestly, if you're speaking as a female, you're supposed to raise your chin up higher. Like that's a lot of things I've watched trying to learn voices, still not good at it whatsoever. But
yeah,
a lot of facial expression too for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've found that for a lot of it, like if you're trying to do the voices, that you really can't, to put it politely, you really can't half-ass it. You've gotta be fully committed to it.
Yeah.
You just have to commit, because if you don't, it's gonna sound terrible, and it doesn't show the emotion that you're probably going for. So
Yeah.
I know quite a few times that some people here have probably heard my voices and just gone like, really, you're doing this right now? And it's like, well, I'm gonna commit to it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I did a stream a couple weeks or months ago with the of Dice and Dungeons folks, and I did like a Foghorn Leghorn voice that I just had to lean into it for 3 hours. And yeah,
Wow.
I couldn't half-ass it. Just had to go all in.
Yeah, and that's one that you have to dive right into.
Part of committing is having the confidence too. Like that's something to balance in terms of like, okay, when I'm alone, I can just do this. Like Waffles will hear me all the time just walking around like in the kitchen doing a random voice. But then I get on stream or on voice with the group and I'm like, so I'm talking like this now. Never mind.
Yeah.
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 By the way, my character has no accent anymore.
Nope, not anymore.
Sure.
Recently played as a guest with Patch in Discount Dungeons, and that day, I mean, like an hour before we recorded, I was in the living room, like pacing around, trying, and I was holding our baby, and I was trying different voices, and my wife from the kitchen was like, "What? Are you practicing your D&D voice?" Like, because I was literally trying. It's like, wait, what if I do this? No. And my poor 4-month-old daughter is just like.
Why does Daddy sound
My
weird?
dad's weird. That's so funny.
I would add to that.
She'll learn that's true.
Yeah.
I would add to Patch's comment about commitment too. I guess everybody's been talking about committing to that voice. But as a DM or GM or as a player, if you're going to commit to a voice and you go for it and it sounds wrong, just keep going with it. Right? It doesn't matter what it sounds like, really. We want to have these perfect real world accents, and we screw them up all the time. Just roll with it. So that's now the accent. That's now this person's voice, and that's okay. Every time you use it, everybody's going to know exactly who you are.
Yep.
To go with that, I'm trying to make an evil plan here of embracing the fact that when I try a British accent, I go all over, and I don't stay in one region. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I just need to find a character that's pretending to do a British accent the whole time, and then it's canon.
There you go. That's
how I break into it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically you just kind of go with I'm James Bond, but like kind of got hit on the head or something. I'm still kind of figuring out where I'm from again.
Yeah, there you go. So that
or just you do it to keep people on their toes.
Yeah. So this actually brought up another question for me, and I actually posted something on Twitter about it the other day. How long will you play a character before you know that you are like, yeah, no, I cannot play this character? Because I one time tried to make a lawful good paladin based on the 1980s version of Shira. That lasted about 20 minutes before I went, yeah, this is not happening. Nope.
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever stopped playing a character. I think I just go with it. I don't think I've ever stopped in the middle of a character and said, I just can't play this character anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think I have.
Yeah, I think I'd make at least one session. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Patch.
No, it's okay. I think I have a story on this years ago in college, and I can tell you the time frame. This was during Superstorm Sandy, for those of you who remember that. We did a Ravenloft session, and it was someone who we knew was like, I want to try DMing, and I want you guys all to play. We're not going anywhere for the next God knows how long. But we all met up, and I had made a character, and it was I think a ranger of some type, and I was like, I'm ready to play this. And she goes, oh, I need you to play another character while you're at it. And basically said, this is now your character as well. And I will tell you, it took less than 3 seconds for me to just like look at this and go, yeah, I'm not like, I'll play as the character. I'm not getting involved in this character. Like, so for me, it's if you're going to press the character on me, I'm not going to want to do it. It has to be my creation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I could see myself. Oh no, go ahead, Waffles.
I'm with Nick on this one. I've never had a character pressed on me, but I would probably be with Patch on that one if I did have one. But any character I've ever made to play in a campaign, I don't think there's never been a point where I'm like, all right, this isn't the character I want to play anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had one that I completely backed off of. I have gotten into a session, usually with like a one shot or a new group, and realized I'm going to change a little bit about how I was going to play this character. It's like maybe he was going to be really goofy and rambunctious and silly, and I realized that this is a group that personality might not like. It wouldn't. I think people wouldn't have a good time, so I might switch it up. But
for sure. And I'm a big proponent of kind of half blank backstory, half blank personality, and just roll into your character as you like. You might know your character by session 7, that'll be about your full character.
That's what I was getting into as well before. Yeah. Especially with the fact that, like I said, like you guys said, I haven't had a character pressed on me either. But I react to things as they go. So if it's something that there's a component of it that I don't like, but it hasn't been like brought up yet necessarily, well, that's just been changed now. So you could just do tweaks as you go to make it the character that fits you and that you think is the appropriate fit.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's kind of I know that the whole issue of alignment can be a really controversial topic in RPG, because a lot of people view it as like it's very, very restrictive. And I think if you approach it more as like a general, like kind of like more of a guideline rather than like a firm, like hard and fast rule, I think it can be useful. But yeah, I mean, to both Waffle and Syrup's point, that I like the idea now more so than I used to, of leaving a little bit of like blank space in the pages of my character's backstory. I used to write just huge backstories with all these details, and you end up losing a lot of flexibility by doing that.
That's a good point. I like that point. When I create backstories for characters, I think that there are some very specific things that you just need to know very deeply, like what they want, what is driving them, what their motivations are. But I think you need to know them really well. I need to know them really deeply on a very deep level in order to really understand that character. I don't write big, long backstories for my characters anymore either.
Yeah. No, that's a good point though. Knowing what your character wants. That's great.
Yeah. As a GM, just for everyone out there, usually what I like to receive as a backstory is about 3 paragraphs, and it would be like your childhood, your adventure prior to coming up with the party, and then your goals. And that's all I want.
Yeah.
Nice.
Especially
in the writing world,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Syrup. Go ahead. It's you.
No, just like you're able to pull so much from those 3 simple things, childhood references, or like bring back up for certain moments. Like the GM has so much, it adds such a punch, to like the depth of everything with just a few details there. And then your goals, they're able to mess with you. But the most important thing to me about when writing those goals is you don't have to stick with them. Your goals can change in character constantly, and that's okay. So to me, like the whole writing a backstory and giving it to your DM, like at the same time, keep updating them, keep sending them the new things of where you're going and where your character's like target is.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Our goals change all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, on that subject, I would challenge anyone that's here listening in chat or any of you guys playing. You may have already done this, but try playing a character in D&D or Pathfinder or Vampire or anything with a nice, happy background. Like not with dead parents, not with a village that was burnt down, not with a lost love. Just try it. I've done it before, and it creates like a totally different kind of character and experience when like one thing I saw on Reddit was someone was like, yeah, I played one of my characters. She was a cleric. She was a really sweet grandma who got bored in retirement. So she decided to become an adventurer. So she's like a level 1 cleric, but she was like a human that was 80 or something. And they're like, there was nothing bad. There was no like, oh, and just, I think that kind of, it can just sort of flip the trope. I think that so many of us fall into of like, you have to have this really tragic past in order to have like a motivation to go forward. So just something to try.
Yeah. So that
comes
actually
with more experience. Playing.
That actually brings up, so chat, I want you to know, I've seen the questions that have come in. We're going to do them a little out of order because this one actually kind of feeds into what we were talking about. So to that point, David Tilstra would like to know, what would be the funkiest race and class combination?
David.
Funkiest.
I'm gonna throw my lot in here and then go grab a drink real quick.
Go for it.
So I'm actually currently playing it, I think, and I absolutely love him. So I'm playing a kobold, and then we made up the class, but it's basically somewhere in between a fighter and a ranger. It's called Slayer. So I'm playing a kobold Slayer who wields a Goliath's longbow. So basically it's about twice the size of him. And so
that's fantastic.
He's basically a strength archer kind of
very cool
class, and it's so fun.
He has to plant the bow in the ground and pull it back. It's adorable.
That's awesome.
If you're talking about just race and class and you're not talking about backstory and things like that, I saw the question in chat and I've been thinking about it a little bit. I don't have a solid answer, but I'm thinking like a Tortle Barbarian would be an interesting choice, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like funky ones, like a Minotaur Rogue. Or like
Breaker of Legends says a Bugbear Sorcerer.
Oh God.
A Minotaur Rogue with a stealth of 20.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my God.
Just charge out of nowhere, charge out of the shadows.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like out of like for the offset of it, I keep thinking like Warforged Druid. Just whole focus on nature.
Oh,
that would be unreal.
Yeah, I love that combo.
Patch,
that would be amazing.
I want to play a Warforged Druid so bad. It's a character that I've had like kind of when I was thinking about Relic, I considered making him a druid because I love this idea of like nature and machine and it sort of being like the transformation almost being like an Autobot sort of transformation, like changing into. That's a really cool one. So
I like the imagery of the Warforged themselves being like overtaken by nature, like with like one arm being like just wood. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it just almost being like an accident, but going into it.
I had a little bit of both Nick and Relic had a bit of an existential crisis in the latest episode we recorded, which might be coming out tomorrow, I think. But we for the first time in 22 episodes, we asked ourselves if Relic had a tongue. And I can't remember who it was. Someone was like, for the love of God, no, he can't have a tongue. I'm horrified at the thought of Relic with a tongue. Because
gosh.
We were talking about someone
you could have like a metal strip or something.
I don't know. We haven't quite figured out. We were making a joke or something about like licking the wall or something dumb. And this got brought up. I've taken us on a tangent. Funky class race combo. Sorry.
I think I'm gonna stay on the tangent for about 5 seconds. I think you should have an aluminum foil tongue.
Ooh.
And then it can just wrap around.
There you go.
I did want to call out Tolomac in chat who said Beholder Monk.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
The eye sucks. Oh no.
That's a good one. Flurry of blood. I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Just spinning. You just spin.
Right? Spins around the eyes, like hit everybody, and yeah. That'd be amazing.
Maria blows.
Yeah.
Feel like breakdancing.
Yeah, now I want to play all these. Like, I really want to play a Turtle Barbarian.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
We need to like make sure all these are written down, and just like after we'll coordinate like the group of weirdness or whatever.
Yeah.
We call
The
it.
Tales of the Turtle
Right.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that makes me think of a fun idea. Like, to play for a one shot could be if you just used a randomizer and you made everyone, you randomly picked your race and class, and then you just made your character like right there before the game.
There you go.
So Nick, I just do want to jump in on that because we've had conversations because for our April Fool's episode this past, we did every player played a different player's character. So like I played Kakaw, Mega Plays Zara played me. So we've been thinking about ideas, and I said, why don't we do a completely random, like go to completely random character generators and just have them in 6 envelopes, and you don't know your character until you open up the envelope
really
day
cool.
of. So I think we're actually planning to do that.
That's awesome.
I actually ran a one shot like that once, is where I just let everyone make characters and then we assigned them a number and you rolled a d6 and you got that character.
Oh, nice.
That's fun.
And it was, the trick was I didn't tell them that they were making characters, that they thought they were making characters for themselves.
Oh, that's sneaky.
Very good. Very good.
You know what you need to do now? Waffles, next time you do that, take those characters and then turn them into the villains for your campaign and just say, thanks guys, now go ahead and make your real character.
Yeah, right.
Thanks for your own enemies.
So I had a DM. We had been playing through a really good campaign. He did a great job. We got to a point where we're about to face the evil characters, and he brings out this stack of character sheets and says, okay, pick one, because we got to play the evil characters as well. And I was playing,
wow.
It was crazy. I was playing a rogue. I was playing an assassin rogue, and he had like 12 characters to choose from. And I reached down and I grabbed one and I look at it, and it's a rogue. I said, can I take something else? He's like, no, you picked it. Come on, let me take something else. He said, okay. So he put it back in and shuffled it up, and I picked it again. I played a rogue. Both characters were rogues.
At that point, the dice gods are just going, nope, that's yours.
Yeah.
Yep.
You are destined for this. That's so funny.
But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to play both sides of that campaign. It was really cool.
Arcane Spectacles has a great idea. You make cards for classes, races, stats, etc., and then you deal them all out, and you have to pick one card from the set and pass the rest to the left, and so on until you have a character.
So
That's awesome.
Are we doing a D&D draft?
Yeah, someone just said like a
Yeah,
magic.
like a magic draft.
Mm-hmm.
I understand drafting is something.
First pack goes to the left, second pack goes to the right.
Yep.
All right, I'm in. Let's do it. It would probably be helpful
Hey,
if, like, you did that in person, though. So.
I bet you someone could find out because Roll20 has a card.
Oh, you're right.
So
Yeah.
we could probably get.
You might be able to do something like that. Yeah.
You can probably figure out a draft simulator.
Or you could just do like I do and pray that PAX Unplugged doesn't get canceled, and we can all just meet up there and do it.
Fingers crossed.
Right? I know. I'm hoping. All right, we got another question from chat that I want to pull up. 1 second. Shoot, wrong screen. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Jim the Dim's question, which was, what is the funniest thing to inspire a character, PC or NPC, for you?
One of my favorite characters was inspired by bodybuilding.
No kidding.
I decided to create a bodybuilder gnome sorcerer, wild magic sorcerer. So he's even got blue skin, so he looks like a really buff Smurf.
I was gonna say, I think you're describing a Smurf.
Yeah, totally. And it was so fun. But he, as far as character goes, I went through and I picked all of the spells that were like acid and poison and necrotic and all these things. So he doesn't like being a sorcerer, and he takes out his aggression as a tavern brawler. So he's just been a really interesting character, but he's just
that's awesome.
Crazy idea of a bodybuilder. He has a bag of holding where he carries all of his weights around in.
I was gonna say, does he fight with them?
He doesn't fight with the weights, no.
I don't have a funny one, so I'll just throw my lot in here. A wizard that I played, I basically purposely did not pick strong spells, and I just went with wind and lightning spells, kind of what you were saying. And so like he didn't have fireball, he didn't have like all these normal good spells, and he was pretty fun to play.
It makes it challenging in a different way, right? It makes it a little more interesting for me, at least. I don't play casters a lot, so I've got to really be interested in what they're doing and what it is, what their problems are.
Right, and I think it fleshed him out more, honestly, like that he didn't just know good spells. He only knew wind and lightning and maybe some charm spells, and that was it.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I had a character based on my daughter when she was about 2. It was a kobold rogue.
Nice.
Because the kobold never stole anything. It was always that they found everything, and kind of like a 2-year-old.
Nice.
And yeah, so just like all of the characters' behaviors were roughly based on like funny stuff my daughter did during the course of the week. Then I would replay during the next time that we would get together and play. And so, yeah, that was probably my strangest inspiration, unless you count the Shira character, but that didn't last long.
Luna,
Go ahead.
Your comment reminds me, we once built characters based off of ourselves, like tried to make ourselves into characters. And that character is the one that I stopped playing.
That also reminded me, Luna, of one that's not, it's not a character that I played, but pretty good inspiration all in all. My dad played D&D way back when they were going through, he was doing his PhD, he had his group of nerds and everything, and he always tells us the Waffles too, they had my oldest sister, and she was still pretty young at the time, and so whenever she would kind of be like walking around or like bump the table or something like that, this little magic dwarf would appear and help them out in whatever dungeon or something that they were in. So she was this little like accidental inspiration for a little NPC.
That's
which was
so cute. You taking notes, Nick?
No, actually, I was gonna say my wife did something very similar. We recently played like a month or 2 ago. We were playing in a one shot, and so our daughter was only 3 months old at the time, and she was playing an arcane trickster, and she purposely took Find Familiar, and she had a familiar. I think it was a hummingbird, and so at this phase was when our daughter was making lots of strange high pitched noises, and so whenever that happened on the mic, we were like, oh, it's Prism. I mean, not that hummingbirds necessarily make those sounds, but it was the closest we could get. So yeah, very similar sort of ideas.
That's awesome.
Syrup's dad did.
I was gonna say, I think mine is one of the less interesting stories, but one of the first times I did a one shot. This is like the second game I'd ever played in my life, and it's just a group of friends, and I'm explaining my character. Oh, he's a dwarf rogue. He's short. He's like, very stocky. He looks like he's like goes to the gym all the time, and he's got like, he looks like his skin looks like it's been like tanning lotion, and he's got like spiky hair. And they're like, are you saying he's like a Jersey Shore guy? I'm like, well, he is now.
Yes. He wasn't, but
he wasn't up until that point, and then he was. And I did one of the most like ridiculous committing to character, over the top Jersey Shore accents I could think of, having never watched the show in my life. Yeah. I will say that. Never seen the show. Had no idea what I was doing, but whole time he was just every bad stereotype you could think of for Jersey Shore. He was
GTL. GTL. I think my favorite, or my most, I guess my funniest inspiration was I needed to have like an old beggar just to provide the party with some information, because they didn't get high enough rolls for whatever, and I was like, I need to move the story forward, so I'm just gonna have an old beggar kind of jump out and basically give them some hints. And my vision for him was the character that Jafar is disguised as in the beginning of Aladdin, this kind of hunchback old man, like missing most of his teeth, with like a cloak and kind of like really like ambling about. And that's what I did, and I only planned on him being this one bit, and then he became a very convenient tool whenever I needed to drop some exposition to the party, because it was in a city. And so he became crazy old Reggie, and became like, probably every other session someone somewhere runs in to crazy old Reggie, and he's usually like running some sort of con or selling rats or just getting into complete nonsense. And like I always picture him as that like crazy old Jafar at the beginning of Aladdin. So
funny.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
That really does.
He's he's probably my favorite NPC to play right now.
Oh man, I'm trying to think if there are any other characters that I don't know that I've played any that were based on or inspired by anything major. The Mousefolk character that I played was actually based on a conversation from an episode of Tales from the Tavern one week. The one that Vero was on, actually. Okay. That was pretty funny. And that came from that whole conversation when Matt, who is from the Verbal Components podcast, was talking about a whole campaign that he ran with Mousefolk, and I was like, that's it, I've got to play one of these now. So that's where that came from. But oh gosh. All right, let me see. Breaker had a question that he had asked last week, and we didn't have time to get to it, so let me pull that up so we can ask. Last week, not Bat Duck, I was just looking at Bat Duck in chat. Breaker of Legends wanted to know, what is your favorite unique TTRPG mechanic that you have encountered in any TTRPG that you have played?
I'll throw in one at the beginning. So when we play Pathfinder now, and it's personally because I feel that D&D 5e is very light on death rules. Sorry if I'm sparking an argument. So I throw into all of my D&D 5e games when we play that when you get knocked down and brought back up, you have a point of exhaustion, and it stacks up to 3. And it stacks up to 3 times.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
That was going to be my answer, because we play a very like straightforward kind of game, and that Chris kind of implemented that in regards to an encounter that I had where I got knocked down about 4 or 5 times and just kept getting back up. Yep. For those who listen, it was the bar fight. But yeah, right after that, he's like, yeah, I think I need to implement so that doesn't happen again. So it's really the only interesting one that I've had, but it's very interesting. I think it's a good idea.
I just want to point out, and this is a little bit spoilery, so Patch, I hope you and the discount folks don't get upset with me. That rule, that house rule that they put into play didn't actually it didn't happen to anyone until I came on the show 10 episodes after that.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, hey, we finally get to use the rule that if you get knocked out, you have a point of exhaustion. I'm not saying who got knocked out, but I'm just saying it wasn't until I pulled up.
Yeah, that was
way to bring the bad juju there, Nick.
Yeah.
I mean, it was worth it at the moment. I will say that. Yeah. But that being said, it was definitely one of those, oh my gosh, this happened. Oh, this rule is going into effect. Oh no, this might be bad.
Yeah.
This might be bad.
I've actually, as far as unique mechanics go, I can't remember. I think Patch is the one who I first heard about this. I don't know if it involves using a Jenga tower.
Oh yeah.
Dread. I think so. I'm cheating here because I haven't actually done this, but hearing about that mechanic. So for folks who aren't familiar, the idea of like, each time a player, Patch, you should explain it because you did it.
Yeah. So Dread is actually, it's his own like game essentially in and of itself. It's mostly around the horror kind of games, but the idea is that the Jenga tower itself basically represents the world. and every action that you take is going to mess with the structural stability of the world. It might be something simple like, hey, I'm going to, shoot at something that's, running away from me. Well, you have to pull, and something bad could happen, like, hey, this shot could go awry, bounce off of a girder or something, and ricochet and hit you in the head, and you're dead. I mean, the whole point of Dread is that each time the tower gets knocked over, your character is, if they don't die immediately, they're marked for death, and they're going to be dead very soon. And it can be very interesting later on when the tower gets weaker and weaker, and all of a sudden you're sitting there going, like, do I really want to do this? Knowing that if I pull one more, I might be doing the last thing my character does. So if you get it with the right spooky vibe, with the right characters, it's a fantastic game. I would recommend it to anyone giving it a shot. That's Dread.
Yeah. And what I want to do is I want to steal that idea. I haven't had a chance to do it, but I would love to. I love running heist episodes in D&D, and I know that there's entire systems like Blades in the Dark, like games like that are all about that. But I really like the idea that maybe instead of just having to roll stealth when a guard is coming or convince someone, you've got to pull like a Jenga piece. And the idea that the more complications that the party runs into, the more likely it is that everything falls apart. And I don't know exactly how it would work, but I could see that, like, when the Jenga piece or the tower falls, like an alarm is set or reinforcements show up or something like that. So I think it's a cool thing you could bring into a game to add like a little, just mix things up.
Yeah, it definitely would be something that if you put it out there, your players would be very confused at first, but I think they would get into it very quickly.
Yeah.
I think anytime you add a clock to the role play, it levels up the interest. It levels up the urgency of the situation.
That's what I've got this hourglass for.
Is it really an hour?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's only a minute. They wish it was an hour.
That's not much pressure, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think two of the ones that I've come across are both actually from Savage Worlds. One is exploding dice. So like if you roll a d6 for something and you get a 6, your die explodes and it rolls again. So you can do 25 damage on a d6 roll. And that sort of thing. So I really love. And then the other one that also comes from Savage Worlds is the dramatic task. So you have to have a certain number of successful rolls from the party in order for them to succeed at a specific, whatever the task happens to be. So you might say, the GM might say, oh, you need to have 5 successes in order to do this. Now tell me what you're going to do and then roll for it. And, and then if it succeeds, then it counts as 1 success towards whatever they're trying to do. And if it, obviously if it fails, then somebody has to try again. And so, yeah, it's kind of I like that because it's a neat way to really make the party think like, okay, if this person did that, what can I do to like piggyback off of that? Because they really have to work together in order to make it successful, as opposed to it being just a regular combat or something like that, where everybody can kind of do their own thing. You probably can.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I think that the other one that Waffles has been doing recently, which I also super enjoy, is just blind rolling. When it comes to an insight check or something like that, he rolls it, and he tells us, this is what you get off of it, or this is kind of what you've pulled from it, and you don't have that meta knowledge of, well, I rolled a nat 1 or whatever. It's just, this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've actually
takes the certainty out of it.
I think that's I'm a big proponent of that. I also know that some people, like my wife in particular, she is not, because she really doesn't like when you take, the roles away from a player. But in a certain, I think like if you're in a really dramatic, like you're there up against the villain, you want to tell like a really big lie, and it's like that kind of dramatic moment where like if you roll the number, you're going to know whether they know, whether it worked. And so there is that kind of element of dramatic surprise where if you can use it to a limited extent, I think you can really make it like have some powerful.
There's definitely a balance there. You don't want to take too many rolls away from the player, because that's the component of the game that's how we interact with it, which is why you're not going to do it for every perception check. You could do that probably pretty often. You could have the GM tell you what you see, but that's not the point. It's definitely made for like more pivotal moments or more important. Waffles' Time Has Passed campaign is super puzzle. Like, it's a huge mystery. Like, none of the players know what's going on, and it's actually a problem because we will spend like 30 minutes in character arguing over like different hypotheses and things like that. We gotta like cut it out. We're like, no, let's keep going. But when it comes to that, sometimes we really want to know information and knowledge about like, okay, well, what does this mean? And so we try to get that with knowledge checks and rolls and stuff like that. And it adds all the more interesting of a complication that some of that information that we think we know is fact, he has rolled for us.
Yeah.
Yep. And to kind of go where you were saying, Nick, with your wife not liking to take it out of the players' hands, what I've done in the past, and thankfully my players haven't complained about it, is I don't tell them when I'm rolling. And so I'll be like, okay, make a knowledge check, and I'll be like, this one's really important. I'm rolling it.
Yeah.
And then I never even look at the roll. I just take mine. They still get to roll, and if I rolled a nat 1 and they rolled a 20, they're gonna probably act off their 20.
Yeah. Interesting.
That is very interesting, actually. Great idea.
He's like, noted.
Right?
Yeah.
All the GMs are like, hold on, let me get this.
I think a lot of the whole do I roll, do they roll, a lot of it comes down to like trusting your players and people's ability to not metagame. I think that's one of the hardest things to teach a new player. So like they roll a 1 on their perception check and you say, no, there's no traps in the room. And they're like, well, I got a 1. So that means they're like, someone else should roll. And you have to, well, your character doesn't know you rolled a 1. Like it's a little bit different when like, if you roll a 1 to try to knock a door down, your character knows because they probably dislocate their shoulder. But with a thing like perception, it's always tricky for me because it's not like your eyes just, oh, my eyes didn't work for a second. Let me, So perception is a tricky one to like figure out how to, I mean, I think every DM has said at one point, the door doesn't appear to be trapped. I mean,
right. It's so hard to balance, especially because, if you walk into a room and you roll a perception to go look around and then your party like sees that you rolled something like a 1 or whatever, and they're like, oh, I want to roll as well. Well, you don't want to say like no to that because they're also walking into the room and they probably are looking, but it's you don't want to, it's definitely takes a while to kind of get into that mindset that failing a roll or things like that can be fun. Like it's a good thing. I love it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's been a few times that I've just said like, oh, you can do like this kind of thing, and I've said no. I'm choosing to intentionally fail this roll. Like I'm not even gonna roll. Just roll it like how if I would have rolled a failure.
I find that
incredibly interesting.
No, I think that's awesome, Patch. I'd never seen that before. Ashley Birch did it on a particularly pivotal episode of Critical Role where I won't get into the spoilers, but she chose to fail a roll. And I was like, what? She just chose, and because it was one of those moments where she was like, in that moment, there's no way that I would succeed at what my character is attempting to do. And it caused her to get a lot of flack because it resulted in some pretty significant consequences for the party. But yeah, I think that if you as a character are willing to, or a player willing to recognize like there may be a moment like that where you need to say like, no, I'm not going to try because there's just no, and it may be something in your backstory. Yep.
I was about to say, I've often, say D&D 5e, I've often applied disadvantage to myself for a certain role just because like, so the wizard I was talking about earlier that do the lightning and wind spells, he had a bad time in his backstory getting locked in a dark place, and then he got turned blind in a fight, and basically I made him just roll everything at disadvantage while he was blind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mentally, he was freaked out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, like even spells and stuff.
Yeah.
To get us back on the question, I just want to throw out one more thing. Playing Pathfinder 2e, I really like the +10, -10 is a critical success crit fail.
Yes,
I love that rule.
I'm a big fan of that. I didn't actually know that came from Pathfinder.
Yeah.
I know that.
I mean, it may have been around before, but it's definitely in their game system.
Yeah, there was a big Twitter argument a couple weeks ago about, or maybe a couple months ago, I don't know, but basically like, is a 1 or a 20 an automatic success or a failure? Because in by the D&D rules, that only applies to attacks.
Right.
But a lot of people are like, it becomes, yeah, I mean, so I think that that's a creative way to do that. Even a rogue who's like a master locksmith can still get it wrong every now and again. So, you know, that -10 might be the difference for once for them to not get that +17 to their
I just want you all to know that Mike is laughing behind the scenes right now because he's the one who posed that question on Twitter.
It's a great question.
I remember it had a lot of
like that. A lot of people answered that. It was impressive, some of the answers that came back. I mean, there was a lot of people that had a lot of opinions about it. But I'm going to pause us right here so we can take a quick break. It's already been our first hour. So I want to give people a chance to get up, stretch, use the restrooms, hashtag free the pee, all that good stuff. And we will be back in just a couple of minutes. We've got a few more questions that have come in from chat, so we will jump to those as soon as we get back. And I hope you guys all have a good break. I'm going to throw up a poll too, so
we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah. All right, we are back. And since the winner of the poll was Kitty, I busted out my kitty Molly to come say hi. So the poll question was, let's talk alignment. Do you like it or not? Yes, use alignment. No, it's pointless. Other, comment, please, or Kitty. And Kitty was the winner by far with 6 votes.
Yeah.
We can try to bring our dog on too, you know, if you need.
So I had to coax Molly out from under the bed. Actually, I just said her name and she came running, so it was good. So yes, we are back. I hope everybody had a good break. I got a message during break from someone saying, "We need an adult. Nobody can take this poll seriously."
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I know.
Over the break, my wife Hillary wanted to clarify. She said, because she overheard what I said, she said it's not so much that I don't like when the DM does a roll for the player. She said she just really loves her dice.
Yes. Yes, I agree. I am the same way.
I love my dice.
She'll be the last person to use digital dice on this earth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do miss, that's one thing I miss because I play in 2 campaigns that we stream here on How I Nerd, and I do miss using physical dice. I have a couple of dozen sets nearby, and 1 set right here, literally right here. But
I have 17 with about as many on the way. So
yeah.
I very recently won a giveaway that Jim the Dim was doing, and we have 3 sets on the way. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah.
Ooh, Waffles with his new.
Right. Oh yeah.
It matches my background. I think you should send it to me.
Are we all
attempting to make
carrying new dice? Because I got my new Talon and Claw.
Ooh.
Oh
nice.
yeah.
Ooh.
I think we're waiting on those.
Near me, or else
that one's wood, right, Nick?
Yeah, it is. It's wood. Yep.
These are some of the dice that we made. We're working on it.
These are the ones I always show off because they're the ones that I have I keep right here next to my desk, but they're my color changing ones.
Yeah.
And because it's been so warm lately, they're currently showing as purple. When it's cold, they're blue. So
this is how Tales from the Tavern devolved into an hour of us
showcasing dice. Speaking of, did anybody see the Kickstarter with the goldfish dice?
No, but someone just shared the Kickstarter with me with the liquid dice.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too. I really wanted some of those.
I'm very hesitant on liquid dice. I'm just not. They don't always strike me as being completely aligned, and that would I feel like cause a lot of issues. I love the idea behind them, the swirly center and all. Yeah. But it's just they like. I want it, but I just know that I'll never get to use it. Somebody will be like, "No, those aren't aligned. You can't use those."
Yeah, I mean,
they have no, it's me. I'll keep rolling ones.
Yeah.
They have a disclaimer on the Kickstarter saying like, since it is liquid on the inside, the liquid is always in random places. Therefore, it's still a random number generator, basically. But I don't know if I fully believe in it.
That sounds like rationalization to me.
The link for the goldfish dice just got dropped in chat if anybody wants to see
Oh,
them.
nice.
Yeah,
Is this a Keyleth inspired dice or just goldfish just in general? I don't know.
They're-
Oh, it is Keyfish.
they're called
Yeah.
keyfish, yeah. So
Nice.
I should have clicked on it before I asked. That's all.
Yeah.
Already back.
so I was like, oh my god, those are so cute.
I don't have it here, but yeah, I've got a big Keyleth sticker on one of my other water bottles.
Nice. All right, so let's dive back into some of the questions. Verbal components, Matt, I promise you I'm not ignoring your question. I am going to get to it, but I want to get to the stuff that's connected to this stuff first, and then we will answer yours. So Bat Duck would like to know, what was the most, well, we were talking about this beforehand, so I'm going to ask this one first, and then Shadow Master will talk about yours, because I think they could probably lead one into another. What was the most unexpected ending for a character or story that you have done or been a part of?
I will again jump immediately. This isn't an entire story, but and I'm not going to spoil a whole lot, so I'm not going to go super into it. One of the recent characters on Extinction Curse peeked around a corner and one-shot the boss they were leading up to for an entire chapter. Just crit. They cast a spell, and in Pathfinder 2E you can critically fail saving throws. So they cast a spell, the person critically failed a saving throw, and at level 3 took like 50, 60, 70 damage. I forget how much it was, but they died.
Oh my gosh.
It was in the 70s, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ouch.
I have two, actually, same group of players, but two different campaigns. So one campaign, the party was, you know, like everything was going relatively according to plan. Like things were going mostly smoothly for the most part. And then towards the end of the game, one of the players got really irritated with the DM, and just up and decided to swear allegiance to Bane and killed the rest of the party. So we were all like, oh, well, that just happened. So that did not go over very well with everybody. And then another campaign that we were playing in, we had been playing it for, I don't know, it must have been going on its second year at this point. But we had gotten to a point that like would have been a really good ending point. And the DM was like trying to drag out a story that had just like, we knew the story was over, and was, I think he was just trying to, keep it going for the sake of keeping it going. And so all of our characters ended up on this ship. We were headed somewhere, and we all just kind of looked at each other and we went, fuck it, we're pirates. And we took over the ship, and that was the end of the story.
I mean, when you're on a ship, that's the only thing to do. So
Exactly.
it makes perfect sense to me.
It totally made sense. Yeah.
Yeah. The one of the most surprising ends to a character or a death for me was, it was not my character. It was my friend Beans, who plays Jeff. Wait, where is it? Who plays Jeff on Know Your Roll. It gets confusing because Beans and Jeff and everything. But anyway, in another game that we played, he was playing a character who had kind of an ongoing competitive, kind of like a Gimli Legolas relationship with one of our other players. And we were in a fight that we really quickly learned we were outmatched. And so we were going to run, which I know most D&D parties don't like to do. But our barbarian, the other player, got one last really good hit on the villain before running, and made some comment at Beans's character, like in the direction of like, hey, it looks like I got the last one. And almost like he knew that he shouldn't have done this, but he was like, I'm gonna attack him, and then I'm gonna go. So he's like, so you're not gonna disengage? And he says, no, I'm not gonna disengage. And he goes, you're sure you're not gonna? And he goes, yeah. And he rolls, and it ends up being a crit. And he did, like 3 minutes later, after we calculated the damage, he did like almost exactly enough damage to perma kill him. And We all had this moment where we thought, wait, it's going to be okay. We're like, Beans, you're a battle master. You can use riposte. You can reduce the damage of this. It won't be lethal. We can grab your body and get away. And all he had to do was roll like a 5. Oh, he had to roll a 7, and he did not. He rolled a 2. My wife is telling me because she remembers better than I do. And so he was dead. And there was this like silent moment where we were like, shit. And Beans ended up saying, he's like, well, I guess this is probably good, guys, because I'm going to be starting up a new dodgeball league next week. So I was going to probably have to drop out of the game anyway. So, but it ended up being like a crazy, there was no way that the guy was going to do as much damage as he did. So players, use disengage if you have to run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, don't forget. That's
Unless you're fighting someone with Sentinel, then you're out of luck.
Yeah.
And Hillary, chat says hi, by the way, because I keep referencing my mysterious wife over here. I swear she's real.
Oh, wait, hold on. She is. I've seen her.
Oh, we can hear her.
I mean, briefly in passing,
Yeah.
but yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any strange or interesting things that have happened?
Oh yeah. Any other surprise deaths? Rolls? Do you have any?
I think the most surprising end to a campaign I've had was with that assassin character I was playing, where we were taking care of business with this kingdom where a queen had been killed or murdered in some way, and the ghost of that queen gives my character the crown, so he becomes king.
That's pretty
and
cool.
It was really messed up. It really messed him up as a character because he never looked at himself as a good guy, so now he's got to be a good guy. And it made for a very interesting follow-up campaign. But I was really surprised by that. I definitely didn't see that twist coming for my character.
That's neat.
Yeah, that is neat.
That is super cool. If you talk about surprising ends to campaigns, there was the one where he played that wizard that he keeps talking about, where it was led up to for a very, very long time. This was the campaign that him and I actually met in. It was, a group of friends. It had been going on for over a year, and we were ready to wrap that season up, and it was ramping up. We had in character discussed all the options for the longest time, and we were basically like, okay, we have one of these two choices. This is what's going to happen. Let's do the big boss battle. And we got to that point, and it was, going crazy, and it was exciting, and we played till like 5 a.m. It was insane. But then at the very last bit, where there was this one ritual that needed to be cast, and it was the same base, but the player had to choose, which of 2 rituals was going to happen. All of us were like, this one is out of the question. We can't do it. We have to do this other one. And there was the drama of like whose character was going to cast it. And so that's what everybody's focus was on. And like in fighting there. And then finally the person that actually goes in there and does the completely other ritual, and everyone was stunned. We were like, the heck? So it was a nice red herring.
Yeah.
And so much repercussions.
Yeah, so
As it should
for
be.
me,
right.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's interesting because we actually, like, I've only been in one campaign that has actually ended normally, apart from like just petering out. The only one that like really ended was a Dragon House, and those are pretty generic endings. You don't really get much out of those. We have like storyline endings that are interesting, and one of them is really, really interesting, and I can't say anything about it because it's on Discount Dungeons, and it's going to be upcoming, and I'm not spoiling this for anybody. I know Jim is in the chat, and I know Jim would probably kill me if I even tried and say anything. So
no, oh, go ahead, Patch.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, there is a campaign, a barbarian campaign. For those of you who do listen to Discount, that is the campaign that actually was the birth of the twins. That is the Gods of the Tudak, follows. That one just near the end kind of devolved into a whole grouping of madness, and it pretty much all started with one little thing, and I'll just give you 4 words. Deck of many things. You can kind of
Always
figure out what
fun.
Yeah,
Always fun.
the funny thing about these spoilers that Patch is referencing, there, as I mentioned earlier, when I guest played with Discount. Don't worry, Chris, because I know you're in chat. I'm not going to spoil anything. They had told me in advance.
Oh,
They're
you
like,
already tried to
Nick,
kill me.
they were like, Nick, there's going to be, I think, Patch, correct me if I'm wrong, like 4 to 5 episodes between the last episode they released and the episode that I would be recording for.
Yours will be the 5th episode.
Okay, and they were like, just to give you a heads up, because Chris wanted it to be as real for me as possible. He didn't tell me what happened. He's just like, some shit's gonna not make any sense for you, even if you're all the way caught up, because a lot has happened. And so like, it's gonna be, like I'm really excited. I told Patch, I'm like, I've like gotten a glimpse of the future, and I'm still really excited to go back and find out like what's coming.
He pretty much and I'm keeping this as I can. He came in and just kind of went, is that you know what? I don't even want to know. Yeah. Like that was pretty much the reaction. I'm just dying laughing because put it this way, I'm sitting there going like, I know less than you do. I hate to tell you. And I've been part of this.
Yep, it's awesome.
That's great. All right. I'm going to go back now to Matt's question, Matt from Verbal Components, who wanted to know, what is your favorite game to play that is not a TTRPG?
Call of Duty.
I was going to say for me, I mean, if you look at my Twitter handle, Catan, it's been a while since I've played actually due to COVID and other factors, but my group of friends and I used to have a poster board like as tall as I am almost, with little cutouts of all of our faces and then rows next to it for little squares for every game you won or every game you lost. Losses got an X with a marker, but wins got a shiny silver or shiny star sticker. And it was like a whole thing to like pick out your star sticker and put it on and talk smack to everyone that had played in that game with you. So that was mine. I really miss playing that.
That's awesome. Fun. Why does everything have to be a competition with you, man?
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, remind me never to get together with you for game night or anything.
I've only played one game of Catan in my life, and I won. And I'm like, I'm never playing again. I'm a record. So sorry, Nick. If you want someone to play with, don't look for me.
Yeah, hey, man, it brings out the best in people. It's just, why won't you get any goddamn sheep, you son of, you know? Yeah,
yeah, the best, the best.
I really like, for like a board game, I like Forbidden Island, and see, for if I had to pick a video game, there's a lot, but
video games, I like a whole other.
Like pretty much everybody knows that like the Dragon Age franchise is like my favorite franchise on the planet. But I also really enjoy like the Jackbox games. Like those are just fun, you know, fun and silly and those are great. I love playing those. Oh yeah, that's a great one. TKO is my favorite.
That's a good one. TKO. I don't own one. Our DM Joe bought a shirt after he was playing TKO way too drunk. I don't remember what the picture is, but the caption is "God is dead," and it is he's like, I can literally only wear. He's like, I can only wear it in my house. He's like, I can't wear it in public because
he's like, that's not when you take to church. Sorry.
No. We actually had, I wanted to buy, we actually play in the How I Nerd Discord on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights before streams. So I wanted to order one of the t-shirts from last night's games, but that didn't happen because, you know, issues and freezing web pages and whatnot. But one of the girls that was playing with us one week actually ordered one of the t-shirts from one of our games, and all it is this, like, you know, yellow smiley face with, you know, like 3 little things of hair, and the caption says, "At least you tried." And it was like, oh, I love it. So
what about Waffles and Syrup? You guys got any favorite games besides Pathfinder?
So I was gonna say Jackbox is mine, as my like group game go-to nowadays with all the audio editing and streaming we do. Back in my younger days, I was a Diamond League of Legends player, and I absolutely loved it. But
That's fun.
now
I
about the
ruined
only
all his
video game I
plans.
play. Yeah, she ruined everything. I'm just kidding. Now about the only video game I play is Smash, because you can get in, get 2 games in, get out in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's like me in Rocket League. I like to just like
Yeah.
jump in and jump back out.
Yep.
Yeah, we kind of tapered off from it. It's just so hard to find the time to do anything really right now. But we used like Animal Crossing was really therapeutic when it first came out. The recent one,
yeah.
we would just spend like every morning before work or whatever, just sitting on the couch, being like, all right, I'm waking up, just playing, doing my dailies on Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah.
No one saw it. You can swim now. So.
Yeah, I will tell you that having a newborn at home and being up those first few weeks at like 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning, having Animal Crossing was awesome. Like that was a really great way to like pass the time. And
it was like the beginning of COVID. It was like everything that was going on. It was just a great like stress relief.
If I was to pick a board game, I grabbed up a board game off a Kickstarter based on Brandon Sanderson's YA series called Steelheart.
Okay.
And it is amazing.
Not familiar.
It's a superhero.
Yeah.
It's like a dystopian superhero book.
It is.
Ooh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
That sounds right up my alley.
Mike from How I Nerd asked about book series to read. It's a good one.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't read YA, but it's amazing.
You can't go wrong with Sanderson. Big Brandon Sanderson fan.
I agree.
Have to take that up, add it to the list.
Yeah, definitely. Draconics in chat, cough, Final Fantasy cough.
Yeah, I was gonna say if we're talking video games, it's like a whole other like video games. Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
So it's funny because like for a lot of game time now with the way things have been is obviously time spent with my wife, and like for video games I don't really get a lot of time for like solo video game time, just because anytime I want to, it's my wife wants to play as well. So and we just love playing Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2. You can play as much as you want. I do not care. I love that game.
Awesome.
But it's just one of those games that's so much fun to just hang out but we don't, like I said, I don't really have a lot of time to do solo gaming anymore. But
when Baldur's Gate 3 drops, I'm probably gonna have to tell all my D&D groups except for KnowYourRoll, like, hey guys, we're gonna have to take a break because
yeah. I know I'm going to be the same way. I think that, and I'm like, I really need a computer that can run Cyberpunk 2077 because I
finally got peer pressured into some friends to jump into the world of building my own PC because I've been just such a console person because it's just easier, but to be able to play some games and also to be able to join streams like this and have like a green screen and not have my computer melt would also be nice. So that'll be hopefully set up next month. I'm really excited.
One of us.
That's awesome.
One of us.
You'll never go back. I was console person forever.
While you're saying this, I'm looking for my marshmallows to put over my my 7-year-old laptop.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. It's I've got to keep my mic away from it so you guys can't hear it. The like propeller that powers my laptop.
I gotcha. Yeah, I need a PC also. I don't play video games very much. I have a son that plays a lot of first person shooters and stuff. So every once in a while we'll play. I love the games, but I don't have another excuse to play more often. So I need a PC so I can stream it so I can play video games.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. There was Turconics also said non-TTRPGs can be video, pinball, card, video games, whatever. And that just made me think of
that's true, yeah.
Arcade games. And like,
yes,
I used to love the original Ninja Turtles arcade game that came out.
That was hard. That game was
It was hard. I loved that game.
There was oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's a video game arcade in the town next to mine that has it, and oh man, every time I get to go, I'm like sinking all my tokens into it. I'm like, I used to be really good at this.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We've got a couple of barcades that opened up here in Richmond.
Gonna say barcades.
And I mean, the only thing that it's like the arcade game was a perfect invention, and the only thing that could have come along to like improve it was just adding a little cup holder next to it for you to put your beer on. While you play, and it's so much fun. Like it's such a cool way to. It's like the whole, it's like it's okay to be a nerd now. Like I feel like it's a lot easier now to just reach out and be like, hey, does anybody want to go, hit up the barcade and like go out and drink and play video games and it's awesome. And the Ninja Turtles one is there, and there's like always someone playing it whenever I go. There's always at least one person, if not four.
Yeah.
I don't have a barcade in my area.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm jealous of all you guys who have barcades.
Move to Richmond, guys.
Business ventures, guys. Business ventures.
Come to Minnesota.
I'm gonna open one next week.
Yeah,
there will be a barcade in my area.
I know, it's great. The one that's near us is really, really small, so you can't get much. Like they don't have a dedicated kitchen, so they're really limited on like what they can serve for food. So they can do like sandwiches and soft pretzels and stuff like that. But it's great because if you're in the arcade area, like they have all the arcade games in one area, and they have 2 lanes for skee ball.
Yep.
And then they have another room that's completely dedicated to pinball machines. So there's like, I don't know, 30, 35 pinball machines in there. And then if you sit at the bar, they've got like a Nintendo 64, they've got something else so you can sit and play like, a bunch of different games with other people that are sitting at the bar. It's such a great way to like go and just hang out with people, and even people that you didn't know,
The important question, Luna, do you have DDR?
They do not have it there.
Wow,
at least they didn't the last time I went, and I don't know if they would have room for the machine or not. So
the DDR one that we have is such a popular thing for people to watch. They've literally just set up couches near it because
that's awesome.
You always have those the
ones that are really good at it.
Oh my god, yeah, they've got like a little towel that they like, dab themselves off with, and ours is awesome. One of ours has a whole beer wall, so it's fully self-served beer. There are no bartenders.
Oh wow.
You just go up and you swipe your card, and then you press like whichever beer you want. Like
I've been to places like that.
And and literally it charges you by the ounce, so you can just you can pick and choose. It's great.
That's
Sorry,
awesome.
I gotta leave this stream. I gotta head over to Richmond real quick.
Hey Pat, you drive carefully. If you're ever coming through Richmond, man, we got to go to Circuit.
I was gonna say that the one that I was used to was the one that we went to here in Minnesota when I first moved here was like kind of too big is what I thought, because there were just so many people and it got pretty packed. But there's a really great one in in Newark, New Jersey that is so small that if you have like a big enough group of friends, you just take it over. And so it's just like you and your friends in this little place where you just play all the arcade games you want. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love stuff like that. I'm so glad I know like I'm just going to be so glad when like everything is like feels like normal and we're not at like a risk of everybody getting sick again, to be able to start enjoying these things again.
Yep.
I miss it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have to ask Rolls, are you just cannonballing Crown Royal?
No. No, it's Pepsi Max in a Crown Royal.
That's
bottle.
A really convenient.
It's repurposed. It's repurposed.
Rolls,
repurposed glass.
How many fingers am I holding up? Rolls, how many fingers am I holding up?
Oh, you moved them. I can't tell. There was a lag. There was lag. No, it's Pepsi. Honest.
I believe you.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. Shadow Master DM would like to know.
Hey, Shadow.
Do you have a best or weirdest puzzle you've encountered or put in your game?
Mine wasn't, I don't know if it's a puzzle necessarily, but because I find I struggle a lot with doing puzzles and riddles in D&D, especially because from a player perspective, it's hard if your character has like a really high or a really low intelligence. Like, how do you, like if you have 8 intelligence and you're a barbarian and you know the answer to the riddle, do you blurt it out, or do you try and work out like, well, would I know that or not? And so one thing I did recently, I say recently, it was like a year ago, the players were all trapped in a room that was filling with water, and a voice kind of came over and basically said this kind of like mysterious voice said something to the effect of like, in order to free yourself, you must like unburden yourself of your deepest, darkest secret. And they were like, what? And then the room started filling with water, and they each just were like, oh crap, and just started saying like the most terrible thing they had done, or just like a really something from their past. And it worked. Like each time one of them said something, the shackles that were tying that, like locking them down, would unshackle. And I don't know how that would work from a magical mechanical perspective, but from an RP approach, it was a really cool opportunity for each of the 4 or 5 characters to reveal something about their backstory that now the other characters knew, and they didn't know like how far do I have to go to like admitting what I did was wrong. So anyway, it wasn't quite a puzzle per se, but I thought that was it was a way for me to put a little spin on it to bring some RP out.
Noted. We'll be using that.
Yes.
That's good stuff, man. That's really good stuff.
See, every puzzle for me is a good one because I am not great at them. So
I use rhyming riddles very often because I just think they're fun. They were all over that one shot that we ran with everyone. Aside from that, one of my favorite puzzles to run is basically the falling ceiling. You put one hole in the floor, but then the ceiling never reaches the floor. So you watch the party fight over the hole, trying to see who's going to get into it where the ceiling doesn't crush them, but then it stops 5 feet from the floor anyway. And then, so basically you cause some inter-party conflict where it was never really needed to happen.
True colors.
Yeah, but then they get wise to it, and then you gotta drop it like for real one time, right?
Yep.
Conniving.
I think the last time I was on here, somebody mentioned that when they do puzzles, because I'm not good with puzzles, I'm not good at creating puzzles, but when they would present puzzle situations for their players, they would just listen to what their players are doing and decide what was actually going to work from what they were talking about.
That's
there wasn't an
right
actual answer to that. So I really like that. I actually started using that technique in my own games, and I love it. I love it. It allows the players to go, well, the DM has an answer. I got to figure out what the DM's answer is.
Yeah. No,
that's gone. They don't do that anymore.
Waffles uses that all the time.
I'm gonna
honestly like. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm going to make my wife come over and tell you guys about a really devious puzzle secret thing that she did, because I keep starting stories with my wife and realize she could probably tell it better. But you can go ahead, Waffles, because I think she'll be over in a minute.
For sure. I was just going to say like 90%, if not all of my puzzles have no answer. You just let the players go. And the first thing that, like, you never want the first thing to work, but the first thing that seems cool or they work together to achieve, you're like, yeah, that was the answer.
Yep.
I wish I would have learned that long ago.
Yeah. Because sometimes it just makes more sense to do that.
Just that's spoilers. So if you guys, anybody's gonna play in his deadly one shot, the recurring one, don't think too hard on that. Just forget that.
Oh, those all have answers because you're meant to die. So
that's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Hillary come and tell you guys about the puzzle that she did.
He just hi.
Hi.
No.
Hi.
No, he just made me get up and come tell you guys this. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the specifics exactly. We did a thing where they like woke up and they were each in their own individual cages that were suspended above like a seemingly bottomless pit. And they like a voice came over, or they heard a voice, and it was something like they had to choose a party member to drop into the pit. And the solution was for them to pick themselves. So they all had to like come to the conclusion that they had to choose to sacrifice themselves, and it was just like a mind thing to mess with them, and they actually all ended up figuring it out, but I can't remember the specifics of like how we got them to
No,
that
but
point.
I remember being at the house when that was happening, and there was like a whole argument over like well, I'm not gonna press the button for myself, like, and so I don't think anyone like trusted, and it was like, yeah, it just was one of those where it was great because as a DM you could just kind of like sit back and watch the party like just bicker over what to do.
Yep.
Anyway, bye. You guys are awesome.
This has been
Thank you. You're awesome.
Hi, Hillary.
That reminds me of a Feywild maze puzzle that I ran. Is the party comes into this room, it's a party of 5, and there's 8 different runes that eventually they figure out they have to touch all of them at the same time to set themselves free, but they're only a party of 5. So it's fun to watch them, like, someone's like, well, I'm super tall, so I'm going to stretch, and someone's like, I'm going to stand on this one and shoot my bow, and it's just fun to watch them like figure out how to touch all 8 runes at the exact same time.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a neat idea.
Very cool.
One last question that came in, and then we'll do closing thoughts afterwards. Came in from, I love saying his name. I pee a lot. And he would like to know, question for y'all. Just had a session 0 this week. How important would you say audio and video quality for all members is before I decide to stream it?
Audio is most important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say audio is really important, but also don't let it, I think we all have like excuse me. Some of us are always going to have like audio issues. I mean, we've lost Audacity tracks and had to use the Skype recording. I mean, I know we've lost whole character tracks at a point and like had to really like scramble to make it work. So like I always want to tell people, don't let it scare you off. Like you might not sound like the Adventure Zone when you get started, but like as you start going, you'll get better. You'll learn the tricks about like how far away to sit from your mic, and whoever's editing your episodes will probably find ways to improve it. But yeah, I mean, audio is definitely important, but I always hate when they say this at my job, but they always say, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. And in this case, I would say like people are, if you have like if you have good chemistry and you make people laugh and like people are having a good time, like they're gonna want to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say what I mean is if you're gonna put money into something so that you can stream, put it into your audio, not your video.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you can get a good mic for less than $50 now. I mean, it's not now, maybe because of COVID, but
not right now. Good point.
How I've always kind of rationalized it is, so there's 2 beginning things. So for a stream, your entry level is a little lower in my opinion. For a podcast, since it's an audio only medium, you need to be a little higher than what you would stream at. And then aside from that, kind of how I rationalize it in my head is you have unusable, usable, and produced audio. Unusable is when you have static coming through your mic, you have all kinds of background noises, you cut in and out. Usable, you might have some keyboard clacking, there might be a dog that barks once every 30 minutes, but like don't worry about that stuff. That's passable. And then produced is when you're getting into the podcast, I'm touching this audio, I have a mic that picks up right here kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it depends on if you're only doing, it goes back to that. If you're only doing a podcast versus if you're doing like here on How I Nerd, we stream everything live and then convert it to a podcast.
Same as us. Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends. I mean, and one of our big focuses on the channel is audio and video quality, but I would definitely say audio first. Because for me at least, and I'm speaking on my behalf, not anybody else's in this case, is audio will determine for me if I'm going to stick around and watch a stream or not. Because if the audio is really bad, I am not going to stay and watch it because I do not want to subject my ears to it,
Yeah.
And and the video stuff, I mean, while important is, a lot of people have stuff on in the background and are listening to it as opposed to actively sitting there staring at their screen like this.
Yeah. I think
Right.
if especially if it's a podcast and you have the ability to do this, as the DM, it might be helpful, and even to get your players like not not pulling from your games recording, but do a separate one-off recording to basically have like a quick intro to the show, and like you can really make sure like that is really well produced, and like make sure you capture everything. So the first thing someone hears when they turn on your podcast is like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and like, welcome to our show. We want to introduce you to the cast real quick. And you can always kind of, hit them with a caveat of, you may notice there are some audio issues in this first episode. We're working to improve things. I think as long as people like, they have like, they know what to expect going into it. That can kind of help, as opposed to, for example, Know Your Roll, where we have bagpipes so loud that they will break your eardrums at, I think, the 2-minute and 47 mark of the first episode.
That might be a little late.
Yeah, no, it might be earlier than that. But no, yeah, I just think it's about kind of pulling people in and letting them know, like, hey, we're an indie podcast. It's not going to necessarily sound like the Adventure Zone, but to Luna's point, people want to be able to hear you. So
right.
I think one other thing that you also need to factor in is, and the reason I'm saying this is because I think a lot of what you guys talk about is you guys all have people who are all in separate locations. You're all like, apart from Waffles and Syrup, you guys are together. For us, normally, Discount, we are all sitting around the same table and recording. So it's one of those things, I don't know what IPA's situation is. It might be that, they're doing what you guys are doing, in which case, I absolutely agree. Audio, and I agree in every situation, audio should obviously be the more important thing, because audio is the medium that you're really kind of spreading across. But if you've got everyone all together, that's something you've now got to factor in is, I don't really, because we all sit around one mic. We record off of one mic, and that's one track that person's got to work with, as opposed to each person having their own mic. Now you have 6 tracks to work with, and it's maybe a little bit easier to edit on that regard. So it's just one of those that I'm just saying with the caveat of, think about your situation as much as what you're aiming for.
Yeah. And another, I think, really important thing is just, as much research as you're doing and everything like that, because I see in chat you're talking about how you're type A, and I'm so exactly the same way. I'm like, we can't do it unless it's perfect. And aside from, going out and getting yourself a Waffles to tell you to just deal with it, I would say just be accepting of the fact that no matter what, you're going to get better over time. Everybody's first episode is going to be the first episode, audio quality including. And you're going to learn from your mistakes, and you're going to get better.
Yeah.
There's no way around that.
And Badchuck in chat made a really great point too. He says, I'm a believer that your audio is based a lot on your setup, but there are many factors that go into it, and not all of it is just your gear.
Yes.
So internet connection, all of that stuff, all can play into it as well.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is also just like good mic etiquette. You have like we just knowing like when to mute your mic, or if you're getting up to go to the fridge or not, and also recognizing that you don't have to spend $500. I mean, my setup here, I've got like a little I don't even know the brand, Ars Technica or something, with a boom mic and a pop filter, and all of this was less than $100. And I know that not everyone, like I know that not everyone just has $90 to go and throw at a mic, but it is something that I went to start to look, and yes, you can go and spend a ton of money on a Blue Yeti and get all the best brands, but there is a way to go and get Reddit basically pointed me like, hey, here's a setup for less than $100 you can get on Amazon today. And again, this was 6 months ago, so it's probably different now under COVID. But
I would say too that no matter what your video or audio situation, don't let that stop you from doing your stream. If you want to do your stream, do your stream. None of that stuff matters. Just go and do it. And again, just build up. Things get better.
Experience, you'll get better at it as you go. You'll learn tricks.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Bring a friend into your first episode, someone you can trust to tell you if it honestly absolutely sucks, but at least your starting point. Because very often you're going to bring someone in and they're going to be like, well, this was kind of rough, but I could listen to it.
Yeah, and you can always go back. I know Patch with Discount, they went back and recently remastered the first 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah.
3 episodes, I think.
First 3. Okay, yeah. So it's always, you can always go back and make some changes if you need to.
It's limited to the equipment you had at the time and everything, but you can
Obviously,
definitely
exactly
bring that level up. But at this, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Lawful Great Adventures just did the same thing. They remastered like their first 10 episodes.
First 10,
Yeah.
10,
Great
yeah.
podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Great.
Super good. He's gonna be on again in a couple weeks.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Sweet.
I don't think we've actually gotten to
I'm still pushing through. I'm still pushing through the first 10 episodes. I'm sorry, Lawful. I know. I am working on it. I'm working on it. I swear. It's on my massive list of podcasts I need to listen to.
Oh God, don't even get me started.
If it makes you feel better, Patch, I'm only on episode 11. So
The fact is, there are so many great creators out there, right?
It's
there are
true.
so many great creators.
Yes.
Keep creating. Keep creating.
Absolutely.
Seriously, like, and I'm sure there's people out there who are like, I don't mix with the rest of the guys who are out there. No, like, give it your best shot. It doesn't matter if you think it, you may think it sucks. You may think you don't have any talent. Trust me, I was like that at the beginning. I thought it was like, oh my God, I'm terrible. I'm not a good player. Like, why am I even doing this? This community will rally behind you. They will love you. They will give you as much support as you can. And it is one of the best things to be part of. And I honestly, like, if you are starting out, like, reach out to me. Reach out to the discount page, and I will do everything that I can to support you. And I know anyone here will say the same.
Yeah.
This community, and this is part of why we started this show, is just this community is amazing, and the people in it are amazing, and we all want to see each other succeed. So
yeah, Patch and I, we first started following each other or our accounts before either of us knew who the person was behind those. When Patch was probably in our first like 20 followers, 30 followers. I mean, when we started, and they had gotten a couple months. They'd started a couple months ahead of us, but like we've just been going back and forth in the last 6 months, and each of us keeps, like, every time one of us hits a new like milestone, just like shouting each other out, and then I've been lucky enough to really get to know everyone here through this community, through doing this. And Patch is right, that he hit the nail on the head. Just like, put yourself out there and try it, because no one has sent me a message to say, dude, your podcast sucks. But I've gotten dozens of messages of people just saying, hey, I really loved your show. Like, I haven't run, we're not popular enough, I guess, to really hit the true internet trolls. But like, you'll find an audience out there.
Yeah.
When people go and tell you that your show sucks, that's how you know you really made it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, they're just going to say, oh, I gave it a shot, but I'm not going to listen anymore. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I would almost rather that you tell me that. It's like, hey, you know what? I gave it a for me. Yeah, fine. Honestly,
we tried to promote
not
that.
Be everyone. Yeah, we're not going to be for everyone. But
the
at the end
biggest
of the day,
thing,
you're going to find something you like.
Yeah, the biggest thing with reviews and things like that, when we try to push those types of call to actions, we don't, we say, tell us how we're doing. Like, the good is great, but the bad is honestly sometimes even better. Like, that there's no way we're going to get better unless you guys tell us where we need to improve. So
absolutely,
we invite that.
Yeah.
But if you're starting out, TTRPG community is the place to be.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, on that note, we're getting close to time, so that was kind of a nice way to wrap things up. But what I'd like to do is I would like to just go around again and have you remind us of who you are and where we can find you on the interwebs. And if you have anything amazing or fun or anything like that coming up that you'd like to share, please let us know. So Waffles, I'm going to start with you this time.
All right, so I'm Waffles from Waffles Maple Syrup. We run 2 major streams and podcasts, Time Has Passed and Extinction Curse, that is on Tuesdays and Sundays at 6:30 Central and 7 Central, respectively. You can find me mostly on Twitter at WafflesMaple, and we don't have anything huge to push out unless she thinks of something during her time right now. Just the fact that we're hitting the numbers, but we're looking for more engagement. That's really what I want, honestly. I'll just be honest and upfront with everyone. Tell us we suck if that's all you have to say, but we want to hear from fans. Like, we have 2,100 downloads, but we've heard from like 4 people. So
Great. And James Core from chat would just like to know what systems your campaigns are in right now.
okay, all of ours are in Pathfinder 2E except for the reoccurring one shot where we raised $1,600 for Black Girls Code and got to sing Disney songs, and that is
was
in
a
D&D
fantastic
5e.
I wish I was visiting my parents that weekend, and I was so bummed I couldn't stick around, but I did get to catch a little of it, and it was a really fun stream.
Awesome.
It was so good.
Fingers crossed the VOD is not yet muted for singing those Disney songs.
Yeah,
Probably
I don't
goes to
think
show
it
how
is.
bad we sang them, but
Yeah, the
Hey, you've never heard us sing Happy Birthday on this channel, so Rolls, let's go to you next.
Rolls with Advantage. Everywhere on social media, I'm Rolls with Advantage. I'm a multi-passionate streamer, content creator. So YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. Mostly active on Twitter and Twitch, but working on a public Discord server as well. But yeah, multi-passionate. Dungeons and Dragons, fitness, personal development, all kinds of stuff. Love you guys.
yes.
Well, thank you for coming back on the show. So great to see you again. Patch, what's going on with you?
All right, so I am Patch. Like I said, I'm from Discount Dungeons. We have our episodes are every other Wednesday. We're a 5th edition D&D podcast. You can find us on pretty much any major platform you want. You can talk to me on Twitter. Like I said, if you have something that you want to push, let me know. I will do my best to push it as much as I can. Mm-hmm. As for what's coming up, we have our first guest star starts in our next episode, and that is Tom, who plays Albion on Green Mountain Mysteries. Shout out to him, just because they've got a great show. And then after that will be Nick from KnowYourRoll, who you might have heard of. And then we have a few other little things that we're kind of working on behind the scenes with Nick, with some other great people in the community. And I really don't want to spoil any of that just because it's going to be awesome, and I like keeping secrets. So over to you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for finally making time in your very busy schedule to come and hang out with us. This was great to get to have you on finally. And I look forward to seeing more from you guys. This will be exciting.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I could finally make it on.
Yeah.
Hey everyone. So again, I'm Nick. I play Relic on KnowYourRoll. We are a 5th edition D&D actual play podcast. Our tagline is usually like, we're focused more on making people laugh than on following the rules. So we're pretty irreverent. But my biggest pitch for our show is all of our music is custom composed, made by our DM. He makes artwork for the show. He edits it, and it's his like little perfect love that he's given to the world. I'm very proud of the work that he puts in to our show to make it what it is. You can find us on Twitter. I'll put it in the chat again on know_your_roll. The other thing I did want to two things I did want to mention. We have a new episode coming out tomorrow. We got new episodes every 2 weeks. And the last thing is we now have a merch shop. And for the rest of June, which I know it's not a lot of time left, we're donating 100% of our profits to a nonprofit called Black and Pink. I'm going to drop some info on our Twitter so people can check that out. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming back again and hanging out. And Syrup.
Bracketing with that waffle maple syrup love.
It was like, yeah, it's like, breakfast sandwich.
So yeah, I'm Syrup, half of Waffles Maple Syrup. He talked about our 2 campaigns already, but to give you a little bit of a snapshot, Time Has Passed is our flagship, and we there's time travel, there's excitement, there's calamities that end the world. So if that's the type of stuff that interests you, definitely go check that out. We have Extinction Curse, which is a Paizo AP, which is a completely different tone because of homebrew versus written campaigns. So we have 2 very interesting campaigns, which I think are pretty awesome, and I hope you guys do as well.
Let me interrupt you. Tell them about the blue maps.
Oh, okay. We are going to, in the next time we stream, should be the next time we stream, Jason Bullman, the amazing person behind Paizo's or some of his stuff. He's a game producer there at Paizo. He reached out to us to give us some of his blue tile maps that he's starting to release to the world or something like that to try out. Not exactly. It's pretty exciting. So we got some of those, and he's gonna ask us to showcase that for him.
Nice. That's exciting.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So if anyone plays on Roll20, they're called blue map tiles. You can look them up. It's a bunch of just messing around, but the tiles go really well together to make either caverns or dungeons, and they're pretty cool things.
He got lost doing that today. He was like, "Oh crap!" At the time, they're fun to play with. But yeah, so like you said, we're on Twitter at WafflesMaple. I'm on Instagram at WMSPod. We have a link tree in our profile, so you could just find us in all the places. But I want to actually push our Discord because we have a really amazing community. We talk about how amazing the TTRPG community is, and we would love to kind of get that popping and get people in there to chat about anything and everything. It does not have to be our show. It's just a really great place to have a like-minded community of kind hearts. So go check that out.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming and hanging out with me this evening. This has been a ton of fun. It's been so great having you all here. It's nice when we all kind of know each other already, because then we can just kind of dive into everything. So that's always a lot of fun. So I am Luna, Gamer Mom Luna on social media, and this is the How I Nerd channel. We have our Sunday night campaign, which is Pathfinder First Edition flagship show, Tabletop Tavern 1. And then Monday night we have Neural Nexus Zero, which is our 1980s retro wave Boston cyberpunk Savage Worlds adventure, which is very cool. If you haven't had the chance to check that out, there's some really great cast members in there. Really, really fun characters, and it's just a really great stream. That just recently started getting updated as a podcast as well. So if you'd like to catch up that way, you can. Then Tuesday nights right now, we don't have anything yet, but that will be the night of our upcoming Star Wars campaign. So look for that coming up in the future. We're currently working on casting that right now. Yeah.
We wanted to be part of that so bad.
Yeah, I know. It didn't work for a lot of people's schedules, which is a bummer, but
there's only so many days in the week.
I know. We need 4 days for streaming. We're about halfway through the interviews for cast right now, so we've got a few more weeks of that before we can even announce who's going to be in the cast. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and the DM is very excited. We're all very excited about bringing that show to fruition. Wednesday nights, we have our second Pathfinder campaign, which is Tabletop Tavern 2, very cleverly named. And that is also a lot of fun. We have a first-time DM DMing that game, so it's always a good time to see sort of his perspective on how things run versus somebody who's been DMing for a while. And then Thursday nights, we have Tales from the Tavern, where we do a roundtable discussion about TTRPGs and all things nerdy. I do want to note there will be no Tales from the Tavern next week. I'm going away for a long weekend to see my family, so sorry.
Enjoy.
I think there will be something in its place, though, but I'm not positive. I don't know if it's been finalized yet. But there may be.
Who cleared this? Hold on a second. Who cleared this?
I'm concerned about your priorities.
Ike.
I never approved this vacation request. I just want to let you know.
Actually, it was more of a, hey, Mike, I'm taking a long weekend and I'm not doing Tales on the 2nd. Yes, the voice of God, Bat Duck. And we also have our stream team, the Storytellers Union, which is a stream team on Twitch that is dedicated to TTRPG streamers. We feature all of our team members right now are all TTRPG streamers who stream on various nights of the week. And so if you're interested in finding out more about our stream team, feel free to reach out to me or Mike or really anybody involved in How I Nerd, and we can get you the information. And with that, we are actually going to go raid another member of the Storytellers Union. We're going to go check out Nerd League Gaming. They are currently doing a Crash Pandas one-shot. So we're going to go say hi to them and show them some love. So if you're a subscriber to the channel, you know what to do. Go over there, show some love. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please go over there and show them love anyway. And we will see you all in 2 weeks when we come back with a, let's see, who do we have that week? We've got Lawful Great coming on that week. We have Nerdly Chicken is coming on that week. And then Candalis, who is one of our mods and a member of our community, will be coming on that week. So it should be a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we will see you all. We will see you all then on July 9th. July 9th. Holy moly!
Have a good weekend, Luna.
Thanks. Hope you guys all have
Seriously,
a great couple of weeks, and we'll see you soon.
Thank
Bye,
you for
everyone.
having us. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.